For he bringeth down them that dwell on high. The lofty city, he layeth it low. He layeth it low, even to the ground, he bringeth it even to the dust.
The floating Babylon. Satan, in his wicked rebellion, inverts and corrupts anything God makes. God creates humans. Satan inverts this and creates the Nephilim. God creates the animals of the earth. Satan inverts this and creates the monsters and hybrids you and I have read about in mythologies throughout the world. God creates the blessed holy city, the floating New Jerusalem. Satan even managed to invert New Jerusalem by creating the floating Babylon. Throughout ancient history, there are many stories and legends about giant floating cities in the sky. A common theme that is found in many of these ancient mythologies is that these giant floating cities are home to the gods. The winged sun disk has been found in many cultures worldwide from very ancient times. This ancient symbol has been seen in many variations among the Sumerians, the Assyrians, and the Egyptians, just to name a few. The winged sun signifies omnipresence. It is associated with divinity, royalty, and supreme power in Egypt, Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and Persia. It is interpreted as a solar globe usually carried on the hawk wings of the god Horus, surmounted by the spreading horns of the ram god Amun. It is also a symbol of the sun god Ra. Ra means transforming good into nothing, disaster and suffering in Hebrew. In ancient China, it is a symbol of heavenly perfection, and in India and Egypt, it symbolizes a metaphorical rise in higher spheres. In the occult, it has become a symbol of power. It is often used on tarot cards. The sun disk became the main symbol of the chief heaven god, known and worshipped under several names in ancient Egypt. Traditionally, the sun disk was carved over doorways on many Egyptian tombs and temples. Assyrian rulers considered it a symbol of royalty. Its importance was expressed in words solus. In Latin, it literally means his own self, the sun, his majesty. According to the ancient Sumerians, the sun disk was a symbol of their sun god, Shamash. Shamash, as the solar deity, exercised the power of light over darkness and evil. In this capacity, he became known as the god of justice and equity, and was the judge of both gods and men. According to legend, the Babylonian king Hammurabi received his code of laws from Shamash. At night, Shamash became judge of the underworld. Shamash was not only the god of justice, but also governor of the whole universe. In this aspect, he was pictured seated on a throne, holding in his hand the symbols of justice and righteousness, a staff and a ring. The god is often pictured with a disk that symbolizes the sun. As the god of the sun, Shamash was the heroic conqueror of night and death, who swept across the heavens on a heavenly boat, or in some representations, a sky chariot. The ancient Egyptians have a very similar story concerning their sun god, Ra. The sunboat, or sunbark, is the great ship in which Ra, or other gods and his companions, sail through the sky, giving light to the world. It is also the ship in which the gods traveled from the heavens to earth, and which Ra took to go back to the sky when he became old, leaving Osiris in power. When the gods use it to travel between the worlds, it is called the boat of a million years. In Greek mythology, Mount Olympus was said to be the home of the god Zeus, and many other gods found in the Greek pantheon. The ancient Greeks believed that the peak of Mount Olympus was perpetually cloudless and never had storms, something that is not true of the historic Mount Olympus. They also believed that the peak of Mount Olympus was near the apex of the dome that formed the sky, suggesting that this wasn't an earthly mountain, but one that was floating in the sky. In ancient Hindu and Sanskrit epics, they also have stories of giant floating cities and chariots that their gods inhabited, known as Vimanas. Vimana is defined as a car or chariot of the gods. Any self-moving aerial car, sometimes serving as a seat or throne, sometimes self-moving and carrying its occupant through the air. Other descriptions make the Vimana more like a house or palace, and one kind is said to be 7 stories high. These ancient Hindu texts even describe Vimanas being used by the gods in ancient wars. Julius Robert Oppenheimer, the principal developer of the atomic bomb, stated that the Vedas are the greatest privilege of this century. During the explosion of the first atomic bomb, Oppenheimer quoted several Bhagavad Gita verses from the 11th chapter, such as, "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
And says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that.
A student once asked Oppenheimer about how he felt exploding the first atomic bomb on Earth. Oppenheimer responded, "Not the first atomic bomb, but the first in modern times," implying that ancient powerful explosions may have previously occurred in our ancient past. Here is an ancient Hindu text from the Mahabharata. Gurkha, flying a swift and powerful Vimana, hurled a single projectile charged with the power of the universe. An incandescent column of smoke and flame as bright as 10,000 suns rose with all its splendor. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic message of death, which reduced to ashes the entire race of the Vrishnis and the Anhakas. The corpses were so burned as to be unrecognizable. Hair and nails fell out, pottery broke without apparent cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all the foodstuffs were infected. To escape from the fire, the soldiers threw themselves in the streams to wash themselves and their equipment. A second passage reads, "Dense arrows of flame, like a great shower, issued forth upon creation, encompassing the enemy. A thick gloom swiftly settled upon the Pandava hosts. All points of the compass were lost in darkness. Fierce wind began to blow. Clouds roared upward, showering dust and gravel. Birds croaked madly. The very elements seemed disturbed. The sun seemed to waver in the heavens. The earth shook, scorched by the terrible violent heat of this weapon. Elephants burst into flame and ran to and fro into a frenzy over a vast area. Other animals crumpled to the ground and died. From all points of the compass, the arrows of flame rained continuously and fiercely. It is believed the existence of deserts worldwide are the result of destructive weapons found in these powerful solar chariots in the sky. This evidence comes not only from the Hindu verses, but also from ample extensions of fused glass fragments scattered throughout many deserts of the world known as desert glass. Silicon crystals, curiously cast, resemble remarkably the same fragments found after the nuclear explosions in Alamogordo's White Sands atomic testing site in New Mexico. I believe all these ancient stories are essentially talking about the floating city of Babylon found in the scriptures. Not only does the scripture mention a floating Babylon, but it even states what happened to this ancient floating city. The Bible describes floating Babylon as a city that ascends to the heavens. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 53. Though Babylon should mount up to the heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Lord. Book of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 5. For he bringeth down them that dwell on high, the lofty city. He lay it low, even to the ground. He bringeth even to the dust. The book of Isaiah describes floating Babylon as a lofty city that dwells on high, which means a city that dwells high in the sky. The book of Revelation describes what happened to this lofty city that dwelled in the heavens. Book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 8. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of wrath of her fornication. Book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 21. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. The book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The book of Revelation compares the floating Babylon to a millstone. A millstone is a circle within a circle. This symbol was also used to represent the sun god Ra and his solar chariot. This verse states that an angel cast the city of the floating Babylon into the sea with violence, and that Babylon the Great, the lofty city that ascended to heaven, has fallen. The book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 8, compares the floating Babylon being thrown into the sea to a burning mountain with fire. Book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 8. And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain, burning with fire, was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. I believe there is evidence of floating Babylon being destroyed and thrown into the sea. The Chicxulub impact crater is an ancient impact crater buried under the Yucatan Peninsula, with its center located approximately underneath the town of Chicxulub, Yucatan, Mexico. The secular world tells us that this giant crater was formed by the impact of a meteor millions of years ago, and that the size of this meteor was estimated to be about 10 kilometers or 6 miles in diameter, releasing an estimated 5.0 times 1023 joules of energy, which is approximately 100,000 gigatons of TNT on impact. By contrast, the most powerful explosive device ever detonated was the Tsar bomb, or the Emperor bomb, which had a yield of only 1/20th of a gigaton. The impact that created the massive Chicxulub crater caused giant tsunamis in all directions. I believe the Chicxulub crater was possibly the result of the angel in Revelation casting Babylon the Great into the sea. Based on ancient comparative mythology and biblical descriptions of the floating Babylon, it appears that it possibly looked like the Death Star from Star Wars. And as the old saying goes, art imitates life, and truth is stranger than fiction. I hope you guys found this video very fruitful and fascinating. The scriptures continues to fascinate me and blow my mind time and time again. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon. I will be releasing a new video on there soon. Please like, share, and comment your honest thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much. Till next time.